Hi, my name is Ethan Healy, and I'm going to be presenting on my senior project, which was volunteering at the Hill Aerospace Museum, all culminating in my participation at the open aircraft event. My mentor, Phil Butler, just want to thank him. He was a huge help, and I was able to learn a ton from him and from other volunteers at the museum throughout this project. So a quick introduction, my goals were to, one, enhance visitor experience. So this was a big one because I was in the Hadley Gallery for the majority of my volunteer time, which is the very front gallery, and I was in the kiosk at the front of that gallery. So I was the first person to greet them as they walked into the museum or into the galleries, and I got a lot of questions about navigating the museum, about the B-25 that I was under, and just overall wanted to give them a better experience. Share aviation history, that was my main motivation for going to the museum, I'd say, as well. I'm a big history buff, I love aviation, and so this was just super fun to be able to talk to people all day and to share my knowledge. Develop personal skills in communication education. This was also a big goal of mine, and I would say that I made significant improvement, especially in my public speaking. Definitely more comfortable approaching people, talking to people, and more confident. Motivation, as I said, interest in aviation history, and then also career aspirations in aviation. So I was able to meet a ton of really interesting people, people who had careers in all sorts of different industries and corners of the aviation industry. My project plan and changes made. So my project circled around education outreach in aviation history. And so my original plan in my proposal was to do a sort of guided tour and organize a large group of people to come tour the museum. Unfortunately, this didn't work out because I'm not a docent at the museum, just a volunteer, and so I wasn't able to do a legitimate tour. However, I sort of shifted and was able to do a small tour of just family and friends, and then I was also able to participate in education outreach by participating in the Open Aircraft Day, which was a huge success. Tons of people came, and originally I wanted to work in the Hadley Gallery under the P-51 Mustang. It's one of my favorite aircraft. There's tons of awesome history behind it, but unfortunately I did have to switch aircraft, which ended up being a good opportunity to learn something new, and I am grateful for it at the end of the day. Preparation, so tons of studying. I studied the exhibits. The aircraft that I had to switch to display was the RB-57 Canberra bomber. So like I said, learned a ton about that. Learned about the B-29 Super Fortress, the A-10 Warthog, P-51 Mustang, and a ton of other aircraft. Memorized specific specifications and historical context. So just learned about different areas of history that these aircraft were used, what engines they had, certain things like that I could use to answer people's questions, and coordinated advertising efforts to attract visitors. So as you can see in that photo, that's what I posted. I mainly just advertised online, social media, things like Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, just posting to help boost public awareness of this awesome opportunity to see all these aircraft, and just how cool of an opportunity it was. And I prepared for visitor questions and event logistics. Sort of the same, just studied up on the different aircraft and memorized the map and all the aircraft that were in the museum. for Open Aircraft Day, the event, what it actually was opening up the cockpits and the planes for visitors to be able to look into and to see kind of how they worked and things like that. And for each aircraft that was opened, they had a volunteer stationed on that aircraft. And so there was tons of volunteers that came in. It was really awesome to see the community come together, and overall it was a huge success. There was food trucks, there was music. It was super fun, and like I said, huge turnout. My role was to staff the kiosk underneath the Canberra and talk about the Canberra bomber. I also directed visitors and answered questions, and I promoted the event and ensured smooth operations. That was the uniform in the picture to the right that I wore for the day. This was the uniform that I typically wore when I volunteered, and underneath is a placard of the Canberra and just a bit of information. Private tour, so after my shift at the kiosk was over, I organized a small private tour just with some family and friends and a couple people who tagged along just because they saw a uniform and someone giving a tour. We started off in the Hadley Gallery, talked about the B-29 Super Fortress, the Doolittle Raid exhibit, and just all the World War II aircraft in that exhibit. My personal favorite is the Doolittle Raid exhibit. I spent a lot of time talking about this with guests of the museum throughout my time volunteering there. I think it's super amazing, and it's a really awesome exhibit. They have the B-25, and then underneath the wing of the B-25, they have an exhibit with memorabilia and a memorial placard to pay respect to the pilots who lost their lives and who also risked their lives in this amazing raid. And then we went to the Lindquist Gallery. This is more Cold War, dawn of the jet age. We talked about the F-111, F-105, C-130, the Canberra. It was also a really awesome experience. We also went and saw the missile silo and ICBM exhibit. Also super cool. They have a prisoner of war exhibit that was sad, but a really good way to show the cost of war and that it's not all cool airplanes. Then lastly, we went to the LS Skaggs Gallery, where we talked about the A-10 Warthog and more modern jets such as the SR-71, the F-16, the F-35. I personally really love the A-10. I'd say it's my favorite aircraft. And I was super excited when we toured it because the volunteer who was manning this aircraft was an actual A-10 pilot. It's tons of hours and had some really cool stories. I just wish I could have talked to him a bit longer. And then I went and got these example ammunition from behind the desk and showed my small group the difference between the ammunition that the A-10 uses compared to normal aircraft ammunition. And as you can see in that photo to the right, it is massive. I talked about the Avenger cannon and the depleted uranium tips that the cannon or the ammunition uses, and just the A-10's huge success in action. So just a reflection, skills developed, public speaking, communication were huge. Problem solving and adaptability, also learned a lot. There was one day volunteering where a bird actually got stuck in the museum, and Phil asked if I would be able to get that bird out. And eventually we were able to get it out. The bird was fine, but that definitely included some problem solving. contributions to the museum, enhanced visitor engagement. Like I said, just greeting visitors, answering all of their questions, and learning about the museum and the exhibit so I could answer their questions, and then supported the museum's educational mission, like I said, by inviting people to the museum and reaching out to people while they were there to teach them a little bit about the history. Career impact, definitely reinforced my interest in aviation. Being around all these amazing aircraft just made me love the industry even more and inspired me to explore further the aviation field. Talking with different volunteers and docents at the museum, I got to meet a ton of really cool people, and a ton of which had worked in the aviation field. So I got to meet people who worked in assembly lines, people who were engineers. I got to meet pilots, just tons of really cool people. And then this is my works cited page. Overall, it was a really amazing experience, and I think I'm going to continue to volunteer at the museum, just Saturday mornings to be around it a little bit more. But yeah, it was an amazing opportunity, learned a ton, and yeah, this is the conclusion of my project. Thank you.